But the transformational part was my whole life being in a place where people are trying to extract, and more so even with career, like I want. What else can I get? I'm very ambitious. How can I get?
It plagues our whole industry of like, all right, but when are we hanging, guys?
I mean, listen, one of the, I think, unbelievable things about Joe is the benevolence, bro. And I think that he's pushed that on all of us, like the importance. You do it really well. I don't know if there's anybody that's like as supportive of other people for no gain on your own at all than you. And it's just like that shit is one addictive. Like,
you're pretty great at it too.
I try.
Everybody I help with YouTube, especially like, how'd you learn this? I'm like, Andrew told me about it. He told me, tell the rest of them.
Tell everybody. But it's like, and
then we're all better off.
Everybody.
That's the selfish part, but we're not even doing it to be selfish. It's just like, I care about you. Like,
once you realize it also feels better helping people.
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive because you're like, I got to compete to get the thing I want. That's what they tell us. It's not like that anymore. Like we can all eat.
Yeah.
But when we were coming up, the younger comics don't know this as much. But when we were coming up, there's going to be 8 people that get half hours this year. Mm-hmm. Are we going to be one of the 8?
Right.
And if we weren't, it was like, well, they didn't deserve it. Da-da-da. Now it's...
What helped me with that is the who's going to get past to the comedy store, and I would get mad. I'd start to get mad at my friends for getting it. And then I realized it wasn't them or me, because some weeks she passed 4 people, and some weeks she passed none.
Yeah.
It just wasn't me.
Yep.
And so then it's like, well, good for you for getting in.
You're a smart, mature person. But
Took
a
a
lot
while.
of people don't.
Took a while.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't even get there.
Yeah.
Especially in our field, there's a lot of like, these are really competitive people and also insecure people in our field.
You see people going off publicly. It's the new hackiest thing.
But,
and you want to be like, bro, what are they doing? They're not stealing from anybody. I'm sorry they're not as good as you want them to be.
We had it buttoned up.
Yeah.
For like a 5-year run. There was like a 5 or 6 year run, and I think it was
support or be quiet.
And I think it was literally like when you went on Rogan, you became famous. And it was like it was a 5 or 6 year run where everybody was on such good behavior, whether they agreed with the benevolence and they wanted to support it, like I hope we feel, or whether they were like, I want to be on good behavior and not piss these people off because then I won't get it. But it didn't matter. It worked.
Either way, it spread from there.
And people were supportive. And if you weren't supportive, you would look like a loser. Like you were like,
hey,
who
we're
the
all
fuck
being
is
cool
this
here,
asshole?
man. We're all being cool here. What are you
just
doing?
Gonna shit on people? Like, what do you offer by shitting on people?
Yeah.
And you could feel it creeping back.
Yeah.
And I think it usually comes from...
What is that?
No hope. Comes from no hope.
It's some successful people who have hope.
Success is determined by, unfortunately for the bottomless pit people, where they are
compared to where they want to be,
where someone else is.
Right. It's comparison.
There are people that can sell out arenas, but if somebody is doing 2, that's the only thing they can focus on. And it's like, and it's so sad because it's like, whatever, regardless of what you believe in, it's like...
Probably know people on the top 10, top 20 earners list who are pissed about their position on it. I'm like, you're in the top 20. It's the over $1 million a year, and you're mad at your placement. Not even, I want more money. Your money's fine. You want them to be just below you.
No. Actually, that's the most important thing. They don't want more money. They just want that other person to be making less.
Right. So if it's them make more, great. If they make less, also great.
It's pure bottomless pit.
We got guys, chill,
dude. But and then it gets rewarded because negativity is obviously rewarded on the internet because we all have these. The fear is what moves things in society, or like whatever we fear, we see, and but it is a problem, man. And
Rogan's great at that though. Everyone's like, he's right wing, he does this, he does that, but at the same time, like he puts on open micers. He literally props up the lowest of us. People aren't paying rent, and he goes, "No, I got to have them on." Oliver Stone, you can't come on this week because I'm full with this open micer I just saw who did something funny.
I just mentioned Derek on the pod when I was on Rogan. Yeah. No, not Gaines. Poston.
Okay.
So I mentioned Derek Poston. He opens for me. I think you know him from LA, obviously. Yeah. And
more from Austin now, but yeah, I know him from
or
LA.
Austin too, but yeah. So and I mentioned him, and I mentioned how he had he just shot a Don't Tell comedy special, and I was like, yeah, he's coming. I mentioned it on Rogan because I'm talking about how he's been killing on the road with us. And he's like, oh, when is it coming out? All right, I got to have him on. Like,
it's crazy. Adrian's like, it's like, when is it coming out? Okay, I'll get you the day before. It'll come out the day. He already knows, like, all right, well, I got to do that.
It's amazing.
Because it's a special. So that's the biggest thing in a 3 to 5 year period for a comic.
Amazing. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. It is incredible that he's able to do it. And like, there's a thing. It's like, I wish that every single comic that was like, hey, can I come on Flagrant? I wish I could have every
But that's the
single
problem
comic on.
too.
But yeah, the problem is just like, all right, well, unfortunately,
It's limited.
there's one episode we do a week,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, unfortunately that's the case. But listen, maybe I would be pushing more benevolence if I did just make it this avenue for comics to get some exposure for their specials coming out. Like maybe that would work better. Maybe it would fill my soul more. I don't know. But I also have to be like, okay, well, are there other people that I committed to talking to?
It's also
And
now
then-
we have 4 or 5 specials a week. And you're like,
It's-
oh, I literally can't do all of them.
I guess I'm trying to call myself out a little bit for saying this one thing and maybe not doing it to the perfect extent, but it is a little bit different in that regard. But I rack my brain about like, okay, well, what can I do even if I can't have them on?
You can post for
Maybe
them.
I can post for them.
There's so
Maybe
many
I can
avenues of helping now. It's
exactly.
great.
Like there are other avenues of help, and I try to be as kind as I can and help as many people as I can with whatever
Advice.
But it is something that I've kind of noticed is like that like bitterness that existed in the 90s. That
Creeping.
it's not creeping. It's
So many of them are doing it.
but it comes from, in my opinion, it comes from just a lack of. There's two versions. There's like bottomless pit people who are just always going to be bottomless pits, even during
That's
the
fine.
good
That's
times.
that's their happy place, actually.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but like there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
But the other version, I think, is like where it just doesn't feel like there's hope. When there's hope, and I think that was the excitement with like the early YouTube version, the early clips, and then obviously Rogan. Like I think for young comics, I imagine the only way they think that you could pop off right now is if you get that Kill Tony spot.
Well, I was talking to Nate about this.
Yeah.
And he goes, we used to have something to aim for. Letterman, Leno.
Yep.
And we'd aim for a Tonight Show that actually mattered. People listening at home aren't going to understand this.
Yeah.
It like mattered and it really helped.
Yeah.
And then that kind of went away. And Nate's like, I want to create an avenue where
Yeah.
even if you don't get it, you can aim for this.
Yeah.
My old storytelling show was
Yeah.
like something I could aim
100%.
for to like, and then if you fall short, you're still ahead.
But there's a thing you're going. Yeah, I've been thinking about this, like specifically with. Also, it's great that Nate's thinking about that. Like
Yeah.
even to just think about younger people and wanting them to succeed. I was thinking about this like with New York specifically. I'm like, what is the thing that a young comic here can do to get on? Like there used to be, okay, maybe I'll work on one of the late night shows. Like that's kind of not really the pathway anymore. They're not really filming TV shows left and right like that.
Podcasts, but there's so many. It's not standoutable
And,
anymore.
and it's podcasting is no longer the thing where like you do one episode,
Yeah,
you're
that's
a famous
done.
person.
That's done.
That's done.
Yeah.
And so there's this part of me. It's like same kind of feeling with Nate. It's like I want to create a property. Like I love that Kill Tony gives so much hope to comics. Like they're like, if I get on that, people are going to see it. Maybe I become a regular, and then I can tour.
You know what I was thinking?
I want to create something for New York specifically where comics here go, oh shit, I can get better with the best comics in the world because there's no question the best are right here. And
No
I
question.
also have hope that I can build my career here because it's not just clips anymore. And I see comics and they're like, but I got to do crowd work. First of all, you don't have to do
You
anything.
don't have to do anything. If
Like-
it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, I talk to comics about this. Like, I don't do it. Like, then don't.
Don't do it.
Then don't.
But
Your thing will come around.
do something.
Right.
This is the thing where it's just like there's a little bit of this that's coming with the bitterness. There's a little bit of this culture of like trying is gay.
That's Shane's whole. That's his whole aesthetic.
But he
Trying is gay.
First of
is
all,
his whole
I don't
aesthetic.
agree with that because he makes
he's lying.
really amazing shit.
No, but he goes, I won't use good lighting. I won't. Trying
His-
is gay is his aesthetic.
Well, I don't want to feel like that's a shot at Shane because
It's not
I
a
think
shot
that
at Shane.
he does like amazing.
No, he's promoting that. He goes, this is gonna be bad lighting. We're gonna have awful.
You're
sound.
saying for the podcast,
for all of it is trying is gay.
but the sketches are phenomenal.
Yeah, sure.
The stand up is
yeah,
phenomenal.
but that's his
Like,
aesthetic. He betrays that aesthetic sometimes, but that's his aesthetic he set up, where it's like we're just chilling, we're just hanging out.
I'd have to my.
That's why he never built a big studio like that.
But
It's
my
like,
suspicion is with that is that like
he's lying.
no, I actually think it's like my suspicion is I don't want this to get too big. The podcast. I'll put tons of effort into the things that I want to be huge and explosive, but the podcast is dangerous. Like imagine, look at what he went through initially with a podcast.
Yeah.
One clip could have cost him the thing that he always wanted. Thank God it did not. Podcasts, like as much as we say what we want about it, it's like we're throwing around lumps of clay and they exist on the internet forever. Anytime I get in trouble for some shit, they don't go to my stand-up.
Bigger podcast.
They go to the podcast where I'm loose with my friends and saying the most wild shit, and then you get 2 hours of justification for whatever you thought for the last 10 years every single week. So I wonder if, and I'd have to ask him about this, but I wonder if the thinking is essentially, I don't want that thing to get too huge because that's the thing that's going to make me vulnerable. Whereas if I just had let the focus be on the art, the stand-up or the sketches or the films, that's such a distilled, whittled down idea
Yeah.
that it's less vulnerable. Thoughts on that?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But I do think that, like, looking at that and going,
It's
try.
an aesthetic style. It doesn't mean trying games. Like, don't act like you're trying and like look at. I've done all this prep work. Even like roasts, like little ones will be like, I didn't prepare for this. And it's like, yes, you did. Yes, you did. You're lying because trying is gay.
We all try.
Yeah.
No, I think, then I fundamentally disagree with that. And I've done tires. Like, what they do is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I can't imagine that he doesn't, on some level, really want to try and want things to work out. You can't be great and not want and not
No, he
put an effort
does.
in.
It's just the aesthetic.
Well,
that
we got to get
you don't act
away
like
from
you're
that because
trying.
I think that, like, I think that their young comics or young creatives need to know that you have to try. It doesn't
that
mean
a shitload of work went into you riffing.
yes, and
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be fake. Like, you don't need to put on somebody else's identity or do something else. But effort is good.
I've always thought of some way to do it. I was never quite big enough of like a young comedian's special. Of just like, hey, here's some people I think are funny.
They keep trying to do it, and like even with like Chappelle backing them,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean
explode.
anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's more like getting comedians to blow up in the spaces for them. Like a young comedian, like for example,
Right. 50,000 YouTube views for somebody new is humongous.
bro, I was telling this to Derek. He was like, because he's on the road with us posting, and like he's crushing on the road, and he's like, dude, we film the shows, and he's like, do you mind if I put some clips out? And I go, of course, dude, put whatever you want. I go, he goes, yeah, I was gonna put something out from the garden. And I go, dude, you could do whatever you want. That's your footage. But if I'm somebody that's finding a new comic online, I kind of want to find them in a shitty little comedy club.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the clips and whatever is like the single camera at the Cellar or New
Yeah.
York is actually goes better.
It's like an indie band.
Because if you
found
prepared
them.
it, it's
Yeah.
like, no, this better be on this level. But
Yeah.
a riff should be when you film that too well, to me it's like, oh, you had a lot of takes of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It only works
Unless
if in the
it's
moment
really-
like, hey, shut up, man. Oh, well, look at you. Like,
Oh,
then it's okay.
I'm not even talking about like crowd work. I'm talking about like literally a bit. Like if you're a comedian I've never seen before, and I
Yeah,
see
you want to
you,
feel like you found them. That's not bad.
and then I go, oh my god, this guy's hilarious. Who is he? If I see you at the garden, I start going, how do I not know this guy? Who is this guy?
Where you been and where you going? This is Ari's travel show, yeah. We're gonna go on a journey today. See what there's to see in this big world. We're exploring different places, seeing all different types of faces. We're gonna talk about travel today. It's you